want to talk about something kind of interesting is when can success sabotage your long-term growth? And it's an interesting topic because we're always looking at ways to be successful, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your professional life, whether it's in your physical life. We always want to be successful. And one of the things that we do is we look to the past to what was successful, right? And that's great. We want to step in and feel that success. But what happens when that success from your past can actually sabotage where you are today and where you want to go in the future? You know, there's a lot of examples for this, but I'll give you two, and then I'll take it into different types of environments, if you will. But, you know, what happens, and I've seen this over and over again, on the personal development side, I'm always thinking of the addiction world, which, you know, I've worked in off and on for 35 years, is, you know, people give up an addiction, alcohol or drugs specifically, and they do quite well. And then for whatever happened, they had the success, they sobered up, they put down the drink, they put down the drugs, they were doing great. And for whatever reason, that's a different topic, they end up back in the old behaviors. Okay, well, now they want to jump back in and get back into recovery, if you will. So they go and, okay, some of the things in the past may have worked, right? But then you really have to look at it, that will the same things in the past work today and take you into the future? Right? Well, if you're trying what you did in the past and it's not working, then you have to attack it in a different way, because when you look to the future, you have to be willing to make some changes on the inside, right? And again, just because it worked in the past may not work in the future, because you're a different person, there's different situations, you have to adapt. You know, I also see it, let's use another example, is people that work out. So they get in really great shape at whatever age it is. And we see it a lot where people are, maybe they were in great shape in their, late teens, 20s, and 30s. So they're in great shape. And then maybe, things get in the way, life, this and that. They get out of shape. And so now they want to get in shape. And so they jump back in. And again, now they want to do, let's say, the same workout they did when they were in their early 20s, and now they're in their mid 40s. Well, will that work? You could try it, but you may need to adapt and get some outside information and change, because, the true answers come to you in different ways. But, just because it worked in the past doesn't mean it will work in the future, because you're a different person. Your body's different. Your hormones are different. Your lifestyle is different, right? And so I remember coaching a guy, and one of the things he reached out for was to develop, basically his business, but we were talking, and I said, well, let's start with something very basic and physical. Well, he wanted to get back in shape. And so we started coaching him up, and I don't do physical training. So, he went and was getting that, but he goes, it's just not working. So we started talking, and he goes, back in my early 20s, after he got out of college, he was doing this stuff and he got in really great shape, da. I said, well, first of all, that was 25 years ago. You're not in your early 20s now. Secondly, what were you doing back then, right? Well, he had a different lifestyle, right? He was single, so he had a corporate job, so it was sedentary. But, on the weekends he played softball or baseball. He was doing this other stuff. He was always very physically active, right? Now it's, 25 years later, and, he's worked for himself, but his lifestyle is different. He's got kids, he's married, he's not playing baseball on the weekends, he's not doing some of the other physical things he used to do. And so now he's like, the workouts he did were augmented, if you will, by the overall scope of what he was doing. So he had to change that, right? And mainly begin to actually listen to the person, his trainers that he hired, and follow the recipe. I'm one to always tell people, follow the recipe. If you go to someone's house and they make a dinner and you love it, you say, give me the recipe. Then you get home and you look at the recipe and you got all the ingredients, but you decide, instead of using this, I'm going to use that. Instead of using this, I'm going to use that. And then when you put the whole thing together, it's like, it's not, you go, it's not what you had. Well, you didn't follow the recipe. And this is true whether you're doing physical training. This is true, whether you're doing mental or psychological training. You have to follow the recipe of what the person has given you, at least long enough to see if it works and to adapt it into your system. And a really good trainer, whether it's a personal trainer or a mental trainer or whatever it happens to be, will say, this, you got to give this like 90 days, 180 days, but unfortunately, because of the internet, and all the marketing gurus, it's hacks, it's shortcuts, it's, this, but some changes take a while. If you're 50 pounds overweight, if there's a hack for your diet and your exercise, it's still going to take a little bit of time to get to the goal you want if you're restructuring your life, right? And again, just because you had success in the past doesn't mean the same success will happen in the future unless you adapt and look at it slightly differently. Take the feelings of success, right? Step into that feeling that you had. I know I can do this. But then also, if you're going to do that, the visualization I suggest to people is step into that success in the past. Breathe it in, know what it was like. Yes, I did this before, right? But now as you look to your future in your mind, say, I'm going to have to do it slightly differently, right? Because there's different situations. The world has changed. Let's say it's a business goal you're working on. I was successful in the past. I built this business, Whoa, it's changed, right? Everything keeps changing, right? So I'm going to have to change how I approach, take the feeling of success, get the proper coaching, get the proper boosting, get the proper information, and then begin to make those changes. And then once you're on your way, then the true change can begin to happen at a level that you never thought possible. And this is one of the great things about taking the success that you had, but modifying it for the success that you want, right? Because what also begins to happen, and what I'll be talking on, are other ways to begin to get there. And that's, to me, it's an absolutely fascinating subject that the more you study it, the more there is to learn. And again, and part of this is with that success, and I'll close with one of the things I talk about a lot is what I call the paradox of knowledge, is once you have a great knowledge base of something, maybe it was that success in the past, building a business, getting in great shape, changing your diet, whatever it was, you have this knowledge base, right? So you want to run everything through that knowledge base. But then the paradox is it's hard to take in new information, right? And then you have to be open to change, adaptable to change. 25 years ago, Blockbuster was a Fortune, I think 10 company or 100 company. It was, multi-billion-dollar company, right? And it worked. The success worked, right? But they did not adapt to the changing situations, and they kept wanting to do more. When things started to collapse, they had the chance to go more streaming, and the success was they looked at the success that they had, and like something like 10 to 15% of their profits were from people that had late fees, or back when you had videotapes, they didn't rewind the videotapes, right? But it was a big thing on the late fees, and they made the decision because it was very successful. That was pure profit. That when they go in the future, they didn't want to do streaming because there was no way to charge late fees, right? You couldn't just do this. So even though they had the chance to become obviously the dominant market, for like streaming services, they chose to double down on what worked in the past. They wanted to open more brick and mortar businesses, right? Where people could go and browse and do this, right? Well, the world was changing and adapting. And sometimes it's hard to have that future vision, right? I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. So that's one of the things you have to begin to look at, right? And learn from some of the situations in your past, but again, adapt into the future and, get some outside feedback, right? And again, the paradox of knowledge is this knowledge base that you have is wonderful, right? But don't let it block you from adapting and changing and adding the things that you want to do. To use the physical development side, what we know about exercise and nutrition and, and the proper way to actually, like, let's say, build muscle, is light years different than even 25 years ago, right? The research that's done and the information, right? And how to get the most out of the effort that you're putting in, which is what we'll be talking about. So I look forward to talking to you soon. If you have any questions, click on the link below. In fact, I have many programs like Control the Food. If eating gets out of if your eating has changed, right? Because again, it's not your fault necessarily, because you've been lied to by the food corporations for the last 100 years. So there's that. So it's control the food, control the booze is my other big thing coming from the addiction world. So if you want information about that, direct message me, click on the link below. If you like these videos, make sure you're subscribed, share this information with as many people as possible, because my goal is to get this information out so you can begin to take charge of your life. So when you look to the future, you realize the answer is right there and can help you in a way you never thought possible in the past, right? So have some fun with that. Direct message me. Again, click the like, share, please leave a comment. And if you have any questions, just reach out. I'll be happy to help. Thank you.